Hi there, it's Bill with the Doomer Bloomer podcast. Now, if you're a listener to the show, you know that I've been doing this for a long time. But now there's an easier way to make a podcast. If you haven't heard about Anchor, let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or phone. The Anchor app will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Cheers. You're on air.
Cool. My name is John Nguyen.
And this is Bill at Tate.
This is the Maple Truths, our first podcast on Easter 2019, the resurrection of good ideas.
Yes, sir.
So why don't you run us down the rabbit hole here with what we'll be talking about?
So in this episode of Maple Truths, we're going to discuss, among other things, black holes, immortality, and artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. Evolution of the human brain and our base nature.
Excellent.
We might discuss beta versus alphas, red pill, blue pill. Might delve a little bit into psychology with the shadow, like Carl Jung. We're going to do some current event stuff with the latest Alberta election and federal politics in Canada and the Trudeau government. And
sounds good.
The SNC Lavalin scandal.
For our listeners out there, we are Canadians, very aware of the worldwide political sphere. I'm very in tune with what's going on in America. It affects us deeply. Even though we're not part of that country, the repercussions of America really affect us. So we're definitely not only focusing on Canadian issues, but I think it's important that you guys know where we're from and what our point of view is. Anyways, I guess we can continue down that rabbit hole.
Yep. We're going to talk about the Green New Deal, air quotes, aka
AOC.
Regan
Velociraptors.
On our Raptor.
Yeah.
And we might talk about the Gillette commercial, soy boys, and tribalism.
Sounds good. It's old news, but it still has its repercussions on what's going on these days. There's far leftist mentality, and besides my mom, was there anything else?
We might talk
Billy
about
Boy,
free will, and predestination.
Excellent.
And then we're going to talk about John's mom.
Yeah,
she's a nice lady.
She's a nice lady, and I think that's all we need to know about my mom.
All right, let's talk about black holes, John.
So, yeah, the black hole. I mean, for a lot of people, I think it's going to be, oh, well, cool, whatever. It's, but nothing impressive. But to me, I'm glad that, like a theory, which is Einstein's theory, relativity, kind of made the black hole hypothesis mainstream. But it was only a theory, a hypothesis. It was not something we had ever seen. And maybe only in the last 30 or 40 years we were able to see kind of like circumstantial evidence of that. So, I mean, we saw a black hole that looked kind of boring on paper, but I mean, this proves our science, our science-based rationales can lead us to a higher comprehension of the actual truth of the universe we live in. And I think in this age of misinformation, this is definitely we really need. And it also shows us how fast technology is progressing, because to actually film this black hole, I mean, it was insane mathematical calculations that needed really high computer calculations, multiple telescopes and all that, just to have a fuzzy image of a dark circle.
Aggregated photograph from 8 different telescopes
Yeah,
around the world.
yeah, exactly. But appearances aside, this is a great breakthrough, and I think this is one of many of the other breakthroughs. Which really interests me is regeneration, reverse aging, and even immortality, which I believe, if immortality is not within our grasp in the next 20 to 30 years, I would even say 10 to 30 years, extending our lives to 120 to 150 is definitely in the realm of possibility. And from then on, if you take a 30-year-old like me, someone in their 30s, and in 30 years, I'm 60 something, living another 60 years to 120, looking young, feeling young, not being crippled by the degenerescence of age is...
It's exciting.
It's completely exciting to me. It just opens up. For me, I feel that I can take my time to accomplish the things I really want to do. I mean, if I do die at a normal age, and I can't reverse like the decrepitude of aging, whatever. At least I would have done whatever I could to live my life. But to think that there's a possibility that when I'm 60, 70, I'm still a young puppy, still looking decent, and still being physically strong is so exciting to me, because we live in a world with so many opportunities, so many things to explore, so many discoveries in science and our understanding of the universe, and to be able to be there to see all these discoveries and accomplish one's dreams is completely fascinating and insane to me. And I really hope to participate in that sphere, or at least be a very close observer of these developments in the future. I think, boys and girls, that we can, some of us are going to be immortals, and we'll still be here in 200-300 years, you know.
Definitely a possibility.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on...
I really thought the ability to print human tissue from your own stem cells and make a 3D model of a human heart.
Yeah, not even a model, a functioning heart.
A functioning heart.
Yeah.
It's a step in the right direction. Because, trying to get an organ donation, even in North America, is a long, lengthy process, and there's often, rejection rates of 20 to 50%.
Exactly, yeah.
But if you can do it from your own stem cells,
there's no rejection.
Less of a possibility, and we're giving people a second chance at life, really.
Exactly. We're getting there. They say within 10 to 20 years, we won't even need to slaughter animals to get the meat we want. And even though a lot of vegans might disagree, meat is one of the best sources of nutrition we have, and it's just damn good. I mean, you can give me all the tofu steak you want; it's never going to beat a real steak here. But to be able to print out meat that's straight up a real steak, you can print out 3D print a Wagyu steak. I mean, what an age we're living in! This is insane. And to me, I mean, look, animals, it's a sad affair. I mean, if I take a step back and try to look objectively of the whole farming complex and all that, I mean, there's definitely improvements we can make, and animals are feeling creatures. So if we can avoid that suffering while still reaping the benefits of farming today, namely meat, dairy, and eggs, Let's do it. What age we live in. It's almost like when I envision 20 years from now, it's like a weird cross of different science fiction films. Definitely Blade Runner. I see like Blade Runner types of visions in my brain, that's for sure, which I love. I love that movie. Those movies.
Segueing here a bit, coming back to the cows.
Yeah.
And this is more like American politics.
Mm-hmm.
They released the Green New Deal.
Yes.
In Congress.
Yes, it was a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
And they have a population of 95 million cows, something like that.
Yeah, close to 100 million.
And they want to eliminate the cow population in 15 years because
less than 10.
Less than 10 years.
Yeah.
Because we're affecting climate change that much. And it literally, what was the name of the guy that did the video?
Oh, the senator.
The senator.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me look it up here.
But
because we try to be as informative as possible, even though this is mostly our opinions and our resurrection of our good ideas. Let's look up. Let's be informative here.
And we will put a link in the description in the video below.
Yes, definitely look it up. I mean, there's Star Wars references in a Congress meeting here. Congressman destroys Green New Deal. Hilarious. When they say we're living in a clown world right now, this is definitely an example of that. Hilarious. Alright. Angry Congressman destroys Ocasio Court. Justin Haskins. No, is that him? I think many people destroyed his deal. I'm not able to find. Let's progress here. Type in Congressman destroys Green New Deal in YouTube and you guys will...
It'll be probably the first video. But
you guys will have a laugh.
To paraphrase, he starts off with a slide picture of Ronald Reagan riding a velociraptor, having a machine gun and a rocket launcher strapped to his back.
Yeah.
And there's a tattered American flag.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of devolves from there.
Yes.
He goes on to, describe using tauntauns as modes of transportation.
Yeah.
Aquaman riding seahorses to the mainland instead of using airplane travel.
Exactly, and try to explain what he's trying to rebut here. Exactly, what is the Green New Deal? How you understand it from our let's call it research we've been doing on it.
Yeah. Well, what is her name?
AOC Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, rising star
of the New Democrat.
Yeah.
Part of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And he's basically saying that it's impossible. All the things that she's stating.
And what are those? From what you remember,
eliminating airplane travel and putting trains.
Yeah.
And getting rid of cow populations.
Yeah, cow genocide.
Cow genocide, basically.
Yeah.
It is.
And destroying, and she also wanted to destroy every single building in the U.S. and rebuild them to make them more, I guess, environmentally friendly,
energy efficient,
etc. Yeah. So she wants to expend a magnitude of an infinite amount of resources to destroy, and then thinks that now we can rebuild. But let's tax the rich 70% and we'll be able to do that. And she thinks that the wealthy of the people that control most of fucking politics anyways are going to be like, you can you're the boss, 25, 26-year-old AOC. We'll go with that. So the senator basically is like, I can only do this presentation and give it the seriousness it deserves. So that's when he started showing Reagan on a velociraptor. He's like, a lot of people would perceive that the Cold War was won by a Reagan on a Velociraptor with machine guns blaring and all that, but actually the Cold War was won without firing a single missile. And if we go into the New Deal, I think her representation of how we're going to tackle climate change is actually going to be just as imaged as the Velociraptor we see now. So, tauntauns for transportation, seahorses for the Hawaiians. That it's hilarious. Anyways, guys, I don't want to ruin the comedy. Sometimes, like, reality is the best thing to check. So go check the video. Congressman destroys Green New Deal, and have a laugh.
Coming back to the climate change, we just had an Alberta election recently.
Yeah.
In Canada, and we changed from an NDP government, New Democratic Party, to the United Conservative Party under Jason Kenney. Formerly NDP was Rachel Notley, and Jason Kenney is going to repeal the carbon tax in Alberta, which I think is a good step forward. It'll put more money in the pocket of regular Canadians.
Yep.
In this province, and he's going to decrease business taxes and try and get the Alberta economy rolling again.
Yeah.
Not to say that Rachel Notley did put in some good policies. I believe that having a diversified economy is important.
Yeah.
And just trying to bet one industry all the time has led to economic recessions.
Yeah.
Boom and bust cycle.
Boom and bust, yeah.
So going forward, I hope it's a positive outcome. I really hope it doesn't get tied up in red tape with the federal government and our adjoining province of British Columbia, trying to get a pipeline to the coast for Alberta Tidewater.
BC hippies, though, better watch their backs right now with a conservative government here. They might not be able to sell their wine, and they'll have to pay a lot of money to get a liter of gas for their smart cars. For their
$1.70 in Vancouver right now.
Yeah. $1.70 for gas.
It's $1.70.
Yeah. How many liters per gallon for our American listeners here?
Oh gosh.
I think it's like almost 4 gallons. Let's check it out here.
Yeah, I know people are driving to the United States across the border into Bellingham to get gas.
Yeah.
Living in Vancouver.
Well, my mom is a snowbird. She goes to the U.S. a lot, Florida and all that. She spends 6 months of the year there. She says she can get a gallon of gas. I did the calculation not too long ago, and it came to around like 50 to 55 cents a liter. So you guys can quadruple in that region of Canada. It's almost 4 times as much what you guys are paying in the U.S. And I know you guys in the U.S. Think that gas is fairly expensive. Maybe not at this time. I have no idea. I'm not from there. But I know there's been complaints in the U.S. about the prices of gas. You guys have no idea. You have no idea.
You're living in a paradise sometimes when it comes to certain products that you take for granted.
Exactly. You guys are living the dream, man.
So, John, would you like to delve into the evolution of the human brain and base nature and see how that goes?
Well, the evolution of the human brain, how our brains developed over... Yeah, we were having a conversation about that not too long ago. I think it was in reference from how a lot of people have different theories about the brain, but a theory I kind of ascribe to is how our brain developed out of necessity and using opportunities that weren't usually used by humans. So I'd say eating meat when our ancestors were starving to death and the only food they had was actually eating meat, and discovering that it was actually beneficial for them, for our ancestors to evolve. Well, to actually just feed themselves, gave them more protein, gave them more energy, more bang for their buck. Gave them a taste of something that they wanted to use, that they eat, and by necessity to gain more meat, our brains had to evolve. But the benefit with meat is actually provides the energy necessary, the nutrients necessary for the brain to actually grow, become better, smarter, stronger.
Neocortex.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a theory. Who knows? This might be a theory that might be debunked, but it definitely seems plausible. There's also Terence McKenna's theory of the Stone Ape theory, it's called, how psychedelics played a very huge role in the development of the human brain. Very fascinating theories. If it's not the sole reason why we develop brains, I definitely think that it's a contributing factor.
Well, there's lots of cultures around the world. South America, specifically, we're thinking ayahuasca. Used for shaman rituals for a millennia, right?
Yeah.
So, and they figured out how to take these two plants and then boil them essentially,
which is pretty crazy. The way ayahuasca works is there's a root that has DMT, which is a completely
dimethyltryptamine.
Exactly, which is a completely mind-blowing substance,
which is found in nature naturally.
Almost everywhere in nature, but when we ingest it, we cannot, it breaks down extremely fast. So if you eat a root with a whole bunch of DMT, our body's going to break it down before it even reaches the brain. And what these shamans discovered is that there's other plants that have MAO inhibitors, which prevent the body to break down the DMT and then actually goes into the brain. It's actually fairly complex, and not having any understanding of science at all, to be able to kind of figure that out is pretty impressive. Who knows? The shamans themselves say that it was they were able to receive the recipe in their own shamanic visions. So. We live in a world where those types of claims might be disregarded, but it definitely is interesting, and sometimes the proof is in the pudding. But wasn't expecting talking about DMT, but since we're on the subject, and it's one of the most fascinating substances, probably even more so than LSD, that can propulse. Regular, it doesn't matter who the person is, it doesn't matter what the setting is, in a good enough amount when smoked will propulse any human being, from the most hardcore skeptic to the most new agey spiritual person, into a realm of a completely different realm of reality. And the prototypical effect is being in communication with higher intelligences.
Yeah,
and having not only a little bit of visuals, but being in a different dimension altogether. Extremely fascinating stuff for anyone that doesn't know what this is. There's a host of information on it on the internet, YouTube. I'm actually reading a book, haven't finished it yet. The Spirit Molecule, DMT, the Spirit Molecule by Strassman. I definitely...
We'll put a link below as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, evolution, I don't know. I'm not a neurobiologist. I'm not an anthropologist. I can't even see Anthropologist. I can't even say the word right now. I think I need more coffee. But, there's a lot of theories that seem interesting to me. I think meat, I think psychedelics, I think just the fact, who knows? I don't think it's alien intervention, but who the fuck knows in this world? I think if we go back to some of the developments presently right now, we're understanding the mechanisms of neuroplasticity more and more, and our brain really needs to find a balance between being in a neuroplastic mode. But if you're too neuroplastic, if your brain is too much in a neuroplastic mode, like we'd be absorbing all kinds of information that would be detrimental to our survival in society.
We are literally sponges. I think you've said that before.
Yeah. Well, especially as kids, because like the ability to be neuroplastic. Well, before it was thought was only for kids, and that's why kids can learn a new language when they're 6 or 7, even though like they're say they're English speaking. But at 6 or 7, if they learn a new language, they can speak it within a couple of years without an accent. It's just because their brain, their neurons are hyper-connecting themselves, but also they're pruning so many other neurons. One of the best, the most fascinating experiments about that is if a kid has a cataract in early development, if they're 2 or 3 years old, has a cataract on their eyes, and the cataract is removed, the brain hasn't formed the visual neural connections in the brain to be able to see. So even if they have nothing physically wrong with their eye anymore after the cataract is removed, they won't be able to see because their brain hasn't produced those necessary connections. Contrary to someone that develops a cataract later on in life, they're blinded by it, maybe even 4 or 5 years, but then they remove the cataract, they're able to see normally again. So very fascinating, and scientists are now discovering ways that we can promote that neuroplasticity in the brain, and they stress it's very important that the setting is well controlled, because you can absorb all kinds of negative experiences, information, and all that can that once the malleable state of your brain, once it concretes itself, it becomes more fixed in the brain. Well, it's going to be harder to overcome those negative thought patterns and emotional patterns, psychological states, and all that. Hope this makes sense. That's how it's kind of the stuff that interests me, and that I'll be talking about in the best way I can.
Well, and John and I, we kind of are foils to each other a lot of the time. Like, I'm not always interested in what he's interested, or what I'm interested, he's not necessarily interested in. But lately we've been talking about what is alpha, what is beta, and these other gamma, sigma, and delta. Yeah,
and omega. I mean, there's a host of different
categories.
Yes, well said. In this, like, a lot of it comes from the pickup artist community and like the red pill MRA community and all that, which I don't consider myself a part of, but I'm always interested in hearing fringe philosophies and all that. I like listening to feminist rhetoric just to be able to
Yeah, like we're always interested in even hearing 180 diametrically opposed viewpoints.
Yes.
Because it really helps strengthen our own arguments, and we're of the belief that there's a lot of people who argue with feeling rather than fact.
Yeah.
And one of the goals of this podcast is to just, again, like, resurrect good ideas, and actually be able to have a discussion properly with people, and not just fling poop at each other, for lack of a better word.
Definitely. We plan on having guests in the future, and I will have we wouldn't mind having a hardcore feminist, which we completely disagree with, and also a right-wing supremacist that we completely disagree with either. But we love to exchange ideas, and to be frank, we also love debating bad ideas. we're human beings. We think our own ideas are the best ideas, but we're definitely open-minded enough to be proven wrong. And if someone can logically prove us wrong on something, I'm open to prune away the bad ideas that we have, the bad opinions and all that. We are human beings. We are not perfect. This is mostly our opinions. We're very curious people. We want to express what we need to express, but we can't have that if we can't have a conversation from either extreme. So,
yeah, if we were gonna like put us in a category, it would be moderate left, probably.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But some of the time lately, I'm finding more of an affinity or an attunement with the right, not the radical right.
No.
But in terms of where we need to be from a fiscal and economic perspective.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the
social
day,
also.
And social also, but a lot of people are just trying to make a living, right, and go through the day to day and provide for their families, really. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there's been a radicalization on the left and a radicalization on the right,
mm-hmm.
and it's hard to even be a moderately opinionated person anymore.
Exactly. Like a person we both admire. Well, that I definitely admire. Joe Rogan. I think he's the most like center left person. Famous person at least, public person there is, and he's being called a far leftist, like a regressive SJW, and also being called a far right racist and sexist and all that.
But what are you like?
Yeah,
or were you
he's just a normal guy having fun on a podcast that wants to be left alone, have his own, and have discussions with people.
He brings interesting guests who have varying different opinions.
Yeah,
and he is just like trying to have a discussion.
Yeah,
a discourse, really.
Yeah, exactly. What are you thinking about a joke we said earlier?
Oh, we watched the Gillette commercial yesterday.
Yeah, you hadn't seen it. This is old news for most people here, but Bill just discovered the most patronizing ad I think he's seen in a long time. I'll let you.
I watched it and I nearly laughed out loud in the middle of it. Because it again portrays men as bumbling idiots, and which we're not. Men are competent people. And kids, boys need to play outside. They need to roughhouse. They need to have those experiences, right? That's all mammals, all animals play in roughhouse when they're young, and humans are no exception. And furthermore, if you can't walk down the street and compliment a beautiful woman as a man. And not in a derogatory way, just, you look nice today, would you like to go have coffee, something like that. I feel like you're emasculating an entire population.
Yeah. Plus, like, we know the only reason why they did it is to fucking cater to the, I can only visualize a conference at Gillette or at Procter & Gamble. I was like, okay, so now we... what's the vibe these days? Like, how do we reach people so we can sell our fucking our razors? I'm like, well, the SJW stuff, the Twitter and what's going on Twitter and Facebook seems like, we got to cater to soy boys now.
Yes.
Plus they have a lot of beards to shave. Most soy boys have a lot of hair on their face, so let's pretend we're compassionate people, and that we made commercials on how the men that use Gillette are fucking sex machines, alpha males that get all the ladies and all that. now we're gonna fucking pretend that we're sorry for that and that we care about how men behave, before our
it's a marketing ploy to sell razors.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the actual product and everything to do with the current socio and political climate that we live in.
It's the ultimate form of shilling.
There you go.
Seriously.
And it just highlights what we've been seeing is it's a form of tribalism. These different groups, a small but vocal minority dictating, people's perception and even public policy in some cases.
Yeah.
And not trying to get too political, but I don't want a law saying that I have to talk a certain way, feel a certain way, think a certain way.
Yeah.
We live in a hyper multicultural, multifaceted, pluralistic society.
Yep.
And we're supposed to try and get along with each other, make meaningful connections, go to work, try to produce something for ourselves and add value to our society.
Mm-hmm. Preach.
Preach,
Bill.
Yeah, I'm not always the most verbal person, so it's...
come on, Bill. You monopolize the conversation all the time, man.
That's a lie.
Well, I guess the guests will be, our audience will be the judges of that. Well, yeah.
In the
fuck Gillette. I actually shorted their stock. I shorted Procter & Gamble stock, but I lost money. Lost virtual money because I didn't do it for real.
Virtual money. I'm going to stop using their products altogether.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a page out of Entrepreneurs in Cars. Richard.
Yeah.
He's absolutely correct. Just, vote with your wallet.
Yeah,
is what we're trying to say here.
Or create a razor yourself and do a commercial. Start it off. You're not a Gillette man. You're a real man.
You're a real man.
You get the ladies.
A Razor Ramon.
Yeah, the Johnny Ramone razor, man.
Johnny Ramone.
Reference to old school wrestler Razor Ramon. Anyways, that could be a future topic.
Hey, chicas.
Chicas off a phone, man.
Chicas off a phone. Razors off a phone.
Yeah. So, what else? What? Besides my mom, I know for some reason my mom is a topic you want to broach.
Yeah.
She used to be hot, but that's before I was born.
Right. Before John was just a twinkle in his dad's eye.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been talking a lot about free will and predestination.
Yes.
John has been, what, Sam Harris?
Sam Harris brings, I used to have conversations with one of my good friends and even his dad and uncle, my friend's dad and uncle they believed a long time ago that free will is an illusion. And I always argued that most of what we consider free will is an illusion. I like to be hopeful that we might have like a 5 to 10% real free will. And I'd say my theory on that is that when we're in a state of necessity or like extreme contemplation, I think suffering or contemplative, meditative minds are able to muster up maybe some form of free will. But Sam Harris, he brings like I definitely wouldn't be able to have a concrete rebuttal against what Sam Harris says about the subject, because like it doesn't really matter. Like any state of mind I have at any given time, any thought I have, even if I push myself to meditate or I'm in a suffering mode, is still something that I have really no authorship in the end.
You're living in a dream world, John.
Yeah, man. Man, when Morpheus offered me the red pill and the blue pill, I'm like, yo, bitch, give me both of them. I'm like in a purple pill fucking insane asylum, man.
Yeah, I take option number
A,
3.
B, yeah.
Option A, option B. I'll take option C, Morpheus, please.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that movie, that alternate universe movie. They're just fucking Neo just slaps Morpheus. Bitch, give me both, man. What the fuck are you talking about?
But you need to start the trace program so we can find you.
Yeah.
Go down the rabbit hole, so go see how far it goes.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, that's it's hard to say. You know, how much of your life is predestined? You know, are you?
What's your opinion, though? But what's your opinion on this?
My opinion?
Yeah. Because even like behind the scenes, I never really got your straightforward opinion on that.
I'm on the fence, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. I would say that, yeah. I mean, the script's not necessarily written, but I feel like, you know, you're born to a set of parents. Mm-hmm. You're a drop of protoplasm, you know, that's been thrown into this universe. Mm-hmm. You know, where did you come before? Like, where were you before you were born? Mm-hmm. And now, you know, you came from nothing, and now, you know, you're a human, you know, a human being, you know, a spiritual being having a human experience, right? Like,
well, even if we consider that there is a soul and there is a spirit and all that, you're still not the author of that soul or spirit. So even if we, and this is a point Sam Harris makes, like, it doesn't matter where you came from. Like, even if you were a consciousness prior to everything, like a primordial consciousness, you still didn't decide to be that primordial consciousness. If I'm at a restaurant, this is like an example me and my friends and his relatives would talk about, is like, even if the
menu is still set.
Yeah, like, even if you're presented a menu at a restaurant and you're like, oh, I choose to have a pizza with anchovies, which I would never order. I wouldn't mind. Actually, I wouldn't mind that right now, but I'll go with lasagna. If I order a lasagna, I'm like, oh, I made that choice to make that lasagna. But, like, what pushed me to make that choice? It was, you know, my prior experiences. Oh, I like this.
Have you had lasagna in the past?
Yeah. How much money do I have in my wallet?
Yeah.
You know, I might have the lasagna because a fucking bottle of wine at $500 with the caviar, even though maybe that's what I wanted more, is way too out of my league at this point in time. I mean, there's a whole host of factors that are not something I'm controlling.
Predestination.
Yeah, that's pushing me to make that choice. The Matrix 2 actually has, the second Matrix has...
Reloaded?
Yeah, Reloaded. When they're at the restaurant, speaking of restaurants, the guy...
Oh, yeah, with the Merovingian.
Yeah, exactly. And then they have the conversation with the architect that, like, I mean, it's very plausible that life is like that. You know, that everything is predestined. It's all cause and effect. We're in some weird... I mean, there's fucking reputable scientists saying that we're in a simulation. We're in some... Like, Elon Musk, like, what has promoted this idea. It doesn't come straight up from him.
I'm glad you brought Elon Musk up.
Yeah, yeah.
We can segue from there. It's good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's saying that, you know, and this is a theory that... quite a few people hold dear to them, or hypothesis at least. There's a difference between the two. I might confound them here and there. If the way technology is going, if we're able to create virtual realities, that we're on our way to do that.
To VR, yeah.
Yeah, that
we're already at a certain percentage.
It's very likely that within 100 years in this reality, be it the real one or not, we're able to create simulations that are so advanced. Like, we can create virtual worlds with it, like, in an instant. I mean, with AI backing the shit up and all that. That is very likely, the likeliness that we're in the real reality is so slim compared to the likeness that reality has already happened, and that we're just being put into simulations.
Yeah, we're Sims.
Yeah,
like Sim City.
Exactly. It's a very interesting theory. Who the fuck knows? But it comes back that, I mean, that sounds outlandish to me. So the fact that, you know, cause and effect is the only thing guiding us, and like free will is not really plausible. I mean, does not really exist. I mean, who the fuck am I to rebut something like that? You know, when there's like greater minds than me that are establishing a lot of facts with a lot of science and a lot of studies to back their claims up. So I hope that maybe the Heisenberg principle of uncertainty, maybe that's like, if we are able to really be fully conscious in that state, maybe that's where we have like that little buffer of free will. But I tend to agree that most of what happens in our lives is cause and effect, and, you know, ideally, again, that 5 to 10%, we might be in that buffer zone where there's like, all the way to an atomic level, there's this state of uncertainty, and an atom, a molecule, or whatever can, well, not a molecule, but an atom or an electron or a quark, a particle can be in one state and another at the same time. And there's maybe, they say it's consciousness that determines, but that goes into the new agey stuff and all that, and it's all vague. It's all like I'll say it again. Who the fuck knows, man? Who the fuck knows? But yeah, what about Elon Musk?
Well,
let's talk about I'm sure his. Anyway.
Well, I'm a big admirer of Elon Musk. You know, he's an entrepreneur. You know, founded Zip, PayPal. You know, used it as seed money.
Elon Musk?
Yep.
Founded PayPal?
Yeah, he was part of the team on PayPal.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, he started with Zip and then was part of the PayPal, and then there.
Elon Musk made the Zip files too.
Like, yeah, like
WinZip
not WinZip. It's like another version of PayPal.
Okay,
like, it's all during the .com era.
Yeah, the .com boom. Huh? Yeah. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, but he's one of these Silicon Valley angel investors. After he got his seed money,
mm-hmm.
he basically
grew it.
He started working on his more like personal projects, right? His passion projects, right?
Yeah,
like Tesla and the Tesla battery, the Tesla car.
Yeah, his space program, etc.
And well, that's his latest company is SpaceX. You know, having rocket ships that can return back to Earth rather than spending all this money, millions of dollars
for one shot,
and then
insane.
You can't recover it, right?
Yeah.
So he's had a commercial success with Tesla now. Commercial success with Tesla actually repaid the money, bailout money from the federal government. One of the only car companies to do that in America.
Tesla, by the way, is a very interesting stock to trade.
Is it?
Yes.
And then Eli also has, his hands in AI, on automated cars, cars that drive.
Eli or Elon?
Elon, pardon me.
Yes.
Musk. And he founded the OpenAI project. Working towards.
He's one of the with Sam Harris. He's one of the people that is really worried of where AI and what AI can do in the future.
The dark side of AI.
Exactly. Right? He's one of the proponents that we should be very careful and put measures in place as soon as possible to not let AI become a monster, like the end of our species,
like a Skynet situation,
something like that. Is the thing is with AI, once it gets, once like one unit, like one computer becomes as smart as a human being, it can
singularity.
Yeah, exactly. At that point on, it's able to auto improve itself exponentially.
It's evolving.
Yeah, supposedly once it gets close to the cuff of like human intelligence, it'll be able to evolve itself to greater than all the intelligence of human beings combined within like something like a few weeks or months
this is one of the theories I've heard, which only makes sense of how we've seen the technological growth in the last 50 years.
It's exponential.
Yeah.
You know, with the birth of the transistor in 1948.
Yeah.
You know, from then, and then Moore's law doubling roughly every 18 months. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're in the billions and trillions of transistors now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we even have like quantum computing that has started also. Yeah, crazy. So Elon, sorry, I interrupted your train of thought with Elon Musk. So
I just admire his ability to take his commercial projects, his financial success, and kind of parlay that into these different avenues, right? You know, he wants to build a tunnel underneath Los Angeles because of the congestion. He's a forward-thinking person, and he comes from industry, not necessarily like I've said in the past. As a politician, politicians aren't really equipped technologically, or their backgrounds aren't equipped to solve a lot of our problems are technological. You know, if you want to stop people from, you know, crashing their cars while drunk driving, you need to put, you know, the technology in place. You know, a breathalyzer, immobilizer doesn't allow you to start your car. Yeah. When you're, you know, over a certain percentage blood alcohol.
That's a great idea. You told me about that yesterday, and I mean, instead of creating Orwellian laws, you know, to control the masses even more, why not just put a breathalyzer in the car straight up, like something.
I'm seeing in the next 10-15 years, like cars, automakers, these are going to be things that are going to have to become standardized in cars. You know, because now, like in Canada, we live in Canada, you know, and we have, you know, the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
The SNU law. Yeah, talk about that.
You know, in December here, this past December, they passed a law that will allow police to come to your house if they suspect, that's suspicion with air quotes, that you've drunk driven to your house, and they can breathalyze you in your own house. Yeah. You know, which is supposed to be, you know, you're a private citizen. You should be able to crack a beer.
So let me give an example of that. If I'm at a restaurant and I have a fight with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend is mad, and I go back home, she knows I'll crack a beer. By the way, my girlfriend's amazing. She would never do that. But you have a fight with your girlfriend. This, again, just an example. You drive home from the restaurant, you crack a couple beers open, but she called the cops and said, my boyfriend drove home drunk. The cops are legally able to arrest you. They're legally able to go to your house and say, we had a complaint that you were drunk driving. We're going to do a breathalyzer test on you. And even if you only had your drinks after the fact that you've driven, they have reasonable doubt to arrest you at that time and put you in jail, which is completely Orwellian, insane.
Yeah, it's a breach of your civil liberties.
It actually makes me really angry that this encroaching destruction, eroding of our liberties, and all that is happening in the West. It's a very strange time we're living in. You know, there has to be like a certain stop to this, and I think, you know, our podcast, even though it's a drop in the ocean, if we're able to touch a few people, to kind of like maybe people that have like these feelings, these instincts, you know, are tired of this bull crap around them, these cognitive dissonances coming from the media, coming from politicians, coming from prominent people. I'm not saying we don't have our own, but if we're able to talk about it, at least maybe we can come up with some solutions, because this is completely unacceptable that law enforcement can come to your house and arrest you without any proof. Imagine you have an important business meeting the next day, and because of some crazy bitch that lied to the cops,
or their neighbor,
or whatever,
somebody who has some beef with you,
yeah,
and they want to be able to essentially ruin your life,
exactly,
right? Because these are criminal charges,
yeah, exactly,
right? And then you have that record,
yeah.
That follows you around.
Exactly. And even if you get absolved or whatever, because I'm sure lawyers will be able to, but again, that's a shitload of money you have to spend. That's a shitload of time. That's a lot of peace of mind that's been taken from you. No, man. Like when I hear stuff like that, it brings me back to my teenage days when I was listening to NWA and saying fuck the police, fuck the government, or Anarchy in the UK, punk, hip hop, good music, good rebellious music. I'm not in that state of mind anymore. I'd like to, if I can contribute to even putting a couple sparks and a couple brains to stand up to this crap.
Well, and you mentioned it kind of yesterday, as a 16-year-old boy nowadays, as a teenager,
yeah,
there's been an erosion of male role models. Even I feel in our society,
yeah,
they
like you were saying about the Gillette,
with the Gillette, like they're portraying men as these bumbling idiots.
Yeah,
that they don't know what's going on, and they're like the Homer Simpsons of our society, and I don't think that's right, and
we're being demonized.
Yeah,
I mean it's as simple as that. We're being portrayed as like the doer of all evils, and for younger kids growing up that are constantly being fed that information. I'm lucky. I feel I'm lucky to have grown up as a teenager in the 90s.
Same here. Because there was no such thing as a YouTube.
Yeah.
The internet was just starting to take off. We didn't get this bombardment from social media, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the YouTube, the Twitter, of this constant narrative that, we're I don't know, that there's bad guys, or
that, well, every boy is a bad guy. There were seeds of that back in those days. However, I think, like, even if you look before 2010, where social media was present and YouTube and all that, I think, like what you're saying, those tools make it bombard the kids, like the information and all that. But I mean, those, like, I think, like, if all that technology was in the 90s, like what was being bombarded in the 90s would not have been like this demasculization, right? This killing of this condemnation of men in general. And I mean, fuck, man, are we privileged? I'm a white straight guy in Canada. Man, I won the fucking jackpot. I won the jackpot in the humanity lottery, which is true. But I mean, I have struggles that I'm sure it doesn't matter what race or ethnicity or gender or orientation or whatever you guys are. I'm sure I've lived through shit that a lot of people would find extremely difficult to handle, and I'm actually happy that I had those masculine traits and I accepted that shadow inside of me.
Shadow.
Yeah, Carl Jung talks about the shadow in every human being, that no matter how holier than thou you think you are and how, like, you think you're a good person, there's this psycho inside of you. There's that that rascal, that little evil imp, that
devil on your shoulder.
Yeah. I mean, it's a common archetype. The angel and the demon on your shoulder and all that. But I think I've always found this. I think most people, they try to only, and Freud talked about this too. Like, the ego basically is that buffer zone between the the it, which is your unconscious, like all the weird ass impulses, like the aggressive impulses, the sexual impulses, and all that you have. And then the in French, it's le surmoi, so the superego, I guess.
Superego.
Yeah, would be the the societal pressure, your environmental pressure. You have to be like this, you have to be like that. And the ego is like the in between of that. Most people only identify with that part. That kind of like that ego that kind of is like the bridge between. Oh, okay, we'll let you pass. We'll let you pass. Oh no, you stay away. You stay away. We've got to accept like the darkest. We've got to explore the darkest recesses of our being and all that, and accept them. Because if you don't accept them, you repress them, you project them, and they actually control you. They
can come out in really weird ways.
Exactly.
That you would never expect.
Exactly. Carl Jung, another archetype that Carl Jung discusses, like going through the shadows, kind of like part of the hero's journey. So the hero decides to go on an adventure, and a lot of the times it's I want a degree in this, or I want to start a business, and I want love, I want this. So the hero's unsatisfied with his current state of affairs, and he wants to go towards something that's really important to him personally. And then he has to face all the trials and tribulations, and he gets kicked down. And he ends up being in that dark place that a lot of us end up in. And he feels powerless, or she feels powerless to do anything. And that's where, the other archetypes like the wise old man, or the wizard, or the healing goddess, or whatever. Those are all parts of who we are. It's like facets of the human experience kind of take over, and they show you that there's a lot of stuff about who we are we don't know. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. But if you're able to face it, to integrate it into who you are, you find that treasure that's hard to find. That's like the pot of gold. After you've slain the dragon, you get that pot of gold, and which translates in a new understanding of who you are, in your own abilities, and also of the world around you. And it's like that, a lot of people go through hardships, and then they become like shining bright lights in this world.
Yeah.
And
they actually highlight your character, and if you don't go through that hardship, your character was not nearly as strong or as developed as you would have been otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Carl Jung, I've only skimmed through, he has so much content out there, so many books, and so much stuff was written and derived from his own theories. Is one of the greatest thinkers in our generation, in my opinion. And I only have like a very surface level understanding of what he brings to the table. So I definitely encourage any, especially younger audience members out there, to check him out. Might be dry and boring, but
we'll link some links in the description.
Exactly.
So we're coming to an hour.
About an hour now. That's not bad for the first podcast of the Maple Truths. Yeah. Resurrection of Good Ideas.
Resurrection of Good Ideas. The Easter edition.
The Easter edition. Yeah. Limited edition.
But we will be doing this probably on a bi-monthly basis.
For now.
Yeah. That's what we agreed on, right, John?
Exactly.
We're kind of busy people, both of us.
Yeah.
We're working to level up our lives, but we felt that we needed to reach out and have a voice. And
talk to our future tribe.
That's right.
Yeah. We're all human beings. We need to connect with each other. We need to have decent conversations. We're far from perfect, but we're far from fucking idiots. And we wanna connect with a whole bunch of other cool people. If you guys have any thoughts, if you're depending on what platform you are, if you're on YouTube, leave some comments, share some ideas, and we might talk about them in the next podcast.
YouTube, Facebook. You can reach us at themapletruths@gmail.com. That's our email address. Yeah. whatever your social media of choice, I guess.
Exactly. We'll be out there. We'll be out there. Just like the WWF. WWE.
Razor Ramon.
Yes. We'll invite some alter egos to the podcast. One of my favorite is Johnny Ramone, but that'll be for another time.
That's another time.
This is John Wynn.
And Bill Ate.
Signing out.
And this is the Maple Truths.
Peace.
Peace.